Bonjour, les étudiants. So I welcome you all to the new session. So the students of 10th standard, hope you are fine and safe. And so the last class we were seeing the first lessons, exercises and also the dialogues, the translation and question answers. So this week what we'll be doing, it's actually we'll be just revising the translation once, and then we'll be entering the lesson 2. Okay, the lesson 2, not the whole thing. We'll be just covering a small part of grammar, which is passé composé, and then we just got few exercises in passé composé. We as you know, we'll do a revision of passé composé, the grammar part, and then we'll finish the exercises. And so try to write your classwork. Yeah, so let's get into the slides. So here, okay, so this is actually the translation we were saying the last class. Des amis parlent du temps qu'il fait. So Ramesh, qu'est-ce qu'on fait demain? On va au cinéma. Rakesh, on dit qu'il va pleuvoir demain. Ramesh, quoi? Tu blagues? Il va pleuvoir en été? Ce n'est pas possible. Kumar, on n'est jamais certain de prévision météo. Rakesh, s'il pleut, on va rester à la maison et regarder un bon film. Nitin, s'il fait beau, nous pourrons aller à la plage. Kumar, de toute façon, on va s'amuser. Oui, c'est certain. So here is the English translation. Some friends discuss about the weather. Ramesh, what do we do tomorrow? We go to a movie. They say it's going to rain tomorrow. Ramesh, what? You're joking? It is going to rain in summer? It is not possible. Kumar, we are never sure about the weather forecast. If it rains, we will stay home and watch a good movie. If it's fine, we could go to the beach. Anyway, we are going to enjoy. Yes, that's certain. And the questions that we saw for this dialogue, it's de quoi n'est-on jamais certain? On n'est jamais certain de prévision météo. We are never sure about the weather forecast. S'il pleut, que les amis vont-ils faire? Ils vont rester à la maison et regarder un bon film. So the second dialogue, Aishwarya habite à Chennai. Ses parents partent à Québec. Ils cherchent les prévisions météorologiques pour préparer leurs valises. Aishwarya, maman, vous avez déjà fait votre valise? Maman, non, je n'ai pas encore fait ma valise. On attend les prévisions pour Québec. Papa, écoute Radhika, à Québec, il fait plus frais qu'à Chennai. Donc, il nous faut des vêtements chauds. En plus, nous devons aussi acheter 2 manteaux. Aishwarya, papa, quelle est la température à Québec? Papa, il fait entre 1 et 4 degrés. Aishwarya, mais à Québec, il fait plus froid qu'à Shimla. Papa, mon ami dit qu'il reste encore de la neige devant les maisons. Aishwarya, quelle chance vous avez, vous allez voir la neige. So now the English translation. Aishwarya lives in Chennai. Her parents are leaving to Quebec. They are checking the weather forecast to pack their luggages. So Aishwarya, Mom, have you already packed your luggage? Mom, no, I haven't yet packed my luggage. We are waiting for the weather forecast for Quebec. Dad, listen Radhika, in Quebec, it's colder than in Chennai. So we need some warm clothes. And also, we must also buy 2 overcoats. Aishwarya, Dad, what is the temperature in Quebec? Dad, it's between 1 and 4 degrees. Aishwarya, but in Quebec, it's much colder than in Shimla. My friend says there is still snow in front of the houses. Aishwarya, how lucky you are. You're going to see snow. So now the questions which belong to dialogue B. So pourquoi la maman d'Aishwarya n'a-t-elle pas encore fait sa valise? Parce qu'elle attend les prévisions pour Québec. Quel temps fait-il à Québec? Il fait entre 1 et 4 degrés. Qu'est-ce qu'on peut voir encore à Québec? On peut voir la neige. So now we'll move to the second lesson. Lesson 2, qu'est-ce que tu as pensé? So what did you think or what you thought? Okay, so what did you think in the sense like what are your thoughts? Okay, so when something happens and if you want to get the opinion of someone, okay, so what you thought about this, okay, what you think about this. So same way, qu'est-ce que tu as pensé? So we use passé composé here. So as you know, passé composé we have been saying since some years now. In 8th standard we saw, 9th standard we saw, and 10th standard, okay, so even in 11th standard, 12th standard. So passé composé is one important tense. Okay, so in lesson 2 these are the grammar parts that we will be covering. Le passé composé, les pronoms relatifs, the relative pronouns, okay, which is qui, que, and où, not, dont, and so on. So the other one, it's the adjective qualificatif. Okay, that's kind of easy exercise, 2 or 3 exercises we got. In passé composé we got around 5 exercises, and as I told you, in this lesson even we got 10 grammar exercises, 2 dialogues, 5 question answers, 3 compositions. Okay, so we'll start with the grammar now. So the first thing, it's actually passé composé. Here it's a small introduction about the passé composé. So passé composé, it's a tense. Passé composé exprime une action achevée dans le passé. So past tense, okay, so passé composé, it's nothing but past tense in English. So it's used to explain, to talk about an action which happened in the past. Oui? So il se forme avec l'auxiliaire avoir et être. So it is formed, okay, the conjugation of the verb avoir and être in present tense, it's necessary, and also the past participle of the verb which you're gonna conjugate, right? So in English it's a bit simple, we just add ed, okay, so for example played, okay, walked, and so on, or also we'll be using have done, okay, so and so on, we have spoken, that way. So in French you got to know the verb avoir and être in present tense, the conjugation, and the past participle of the verb of the action that you have done. So here avoir ou être au présent de l'indicatif plus participe passé du verbe. So here are some examples with the verb avoir. So you got 4 steps to remember, right? Okay, hope you remember those steps. We'll be finding the past participle. To find the past participle of er ending verb, it's quite simple. Okay, you cut r and add an accent aigu over the e. So you can see in the first line, avec avoir, j'ai parlé aux étudiants. J'ai parlé. So the verb parler, it's an er ending verb. You cut r, add an accent over the e. So then the present tense of the verb avoir is used. J'ai parlé aux étudiants. Okay, I spoke to the students. That means j'ai parlé. And the second sentence, it's actually an irregular verb, which is the verb prendre, which is conjugated here. For the verbs which are irregular, you got to remember, you got to memorize the past participle. Hope you got the list of the verbs. So please revise the list of verbs. Okay, please revise the past participles, meanings, and so on. Elle a pris le petit déjeuner. Okay, so she has taken the breakfast. Okay, she had the breakfast. So that way. And the last sentence, vous avez fini le projet le mois dernier. Okay, le mois dernier, vous avez fini le projet. The verb finir is conjugated here. So the verb finir, it's an IR ending verb. So same way like ER ending verbs, the IR ending verbs, they'll just lose their R at the last. Okay, so finir, it's FINIR. You just cut R, you got the past participle, you add it with the verb avoir. Okay, with the verb avoir, it's quite simple. So here we are given some 2 examples of verbs that are conjugated with avoir. So for example, visiter and faire. Visiter, it's an ER ending verb, and faire, it's an irregular verb. So visiter, so you'll be learning the meanings first, right? Visiter, which means to visit. So as soon as you learn the meaning of a verb, you got to learn the past participle also. Okay, so if it's an ER ending verb, no problem. But if it's an irregular verb, then you got to remember, you got to memorize by heart the past participle. So here the verb visiter, j'ai visité, tu as visité, il a visité, elle a visité, nous avons visité, vous avez visité, ils ont visité, elles ont visité. So the right side is the verb faire, which is an irregular verb, which means to do, and the past participle it's fait, F-A-I-T, F-R-E-T, and so you can't like remove E and so on. Okay, so the only way it's actually you got to memorize the past participle. So the conjugation it's j'ai fait, tu as fait, il a fait, elle a fait, nous avons fait, vous avez fait, ils ont fait, elles ont fait. So j'ai fait, which means I have done or I did, right? So this way, this side it's j'ai visité, I have visited or I visited, right? So and the same way the past participle doesn't change for the subjects. Okay, just the verb avoir, the auxiliary will change, not the past participle. So keep in mind. So often we'll be making mistakes in this, and do not forget to add the auxiliary. Okay, auxiliary verb, which is also a common mistake done. So now we'll move to the third rule. Okay, the third one it's actually with the verb être. So with être you got to first keep in mind a list of verbs that we already saw. You remember Dr. Mrs. Van der Trumps, Dr. Mrs. Van der Trumps. So here we got a list of verbs. So here you can see in the second text, second paragraph, like les verbes entrer, sortir, arriver, aller, venir, rentrer, descendre, monter, tomber, naître, mourir, devenir, passer par, rester, revenir, partir, etc. And also the pronominal verbs, okay, the verbs that got se, okay, se réveiller, se brosser, se coucher, se doucher, se lever, se laver, all those verbs even will be conjugated with être in passé composé. We won't be using the verb avoir. So this is actually the basic of être. And one more thing you got to do, it's actually with the past participle. Once you add the past participle of these verbs, you got to do that agreement, the accord we say. In English we don't have such stuff, but in French, according to the subject, we'll be adding E or S to the past participle. If it's a feminine, if the subject is feminine, we'll be adding E. If it's plural, we'll be adding S with the past participle. So we are given 3 examples. Avec être, elle est partie pour Paris. So she left for Paris. Okay, so elle, it's actually the subject, which is feminine. So what we do is actually we add a with the past participle. We add an E with the past participle. It's highlighted in yellow, you can see. And the second sentence, ils sont rentrés hier soir. Yesterday evening they returned. So you can see the subject, it's ils, so which is a plural, third person plural. So what we do is actually we just add an S. Okay, we add an S with the past participle of rentré. So the third one, it's nous sommes descendus. Nous sommes, it's actually we descended, we climbed down. Okay, we climbed down, we got down, descendu. We just add an S because the subject it's nous and it's plural, right? So this thing, it's a bit important when you're conjugating any verb in passé composé with être. So here we got an example of verb, a normal verb and a pronominal verb. So left side we got the verb aller, which means to go, and you can see the verb aller, it starts, it ends with er. So finding the past participle, it's not a difficult task. You cut R, add an accent. Okay, so then you conjugate the verb être, je suis, tu es, il est, allé, and so on. Then you can see the verb être is conjugated in red. Okay, you can see the verb être is conjugated in red, both sides. And then I have added the verb aller, the past participle of aller, in blue. Okay, which is masculine. Okay, which is masculine. So je suis allé. Okay, without E, without the second E, it's masculine. So the first person can be a girl also. Okay, can be feminine also. So we'll be having 2 possibilities. Okay, so depends on the subject. Okay, you'll be adding that E or not. Right, so these are the ways, possible ways. Right, je suis allé with E, without E, the second E. Tu es allé, same way. So if you're talking to a girl, so then it will be like double E. Okay, so the one which is in yellow. Il est allé, so this is always masculine. Il, it's always masculine, so there is no options. Okay, it's actually il est allé. And next one, it's elle est allée. Elle, it's always feminine, so we don't have any options, so the double E should be there. Nous sommes allés, masculine plural will be having in blue. Okay, the A double L E S. Okay, so just to know. And the feminine form, it's A double L E accent E S. Vous êtes allé. So vous êtes allé can be in 4 different ways. So like a masculine singular, masculine plural, feminine singular, feminine plural. Okay, so masculine singular and plural are in blue. The feminine singular and plural are in yellow. Okay, so if it's plural, we just add an S. Ils sont allés. So ils sont allés, it's always masculine, even if it's like both genders, masculine and feminine in a group, we'll be taking the masculine form. So we write the masculine form, A double L E accent S. Elles sont allées, it's always feminine, so we use the feminine form. Yeah. So same way this side, the pronominal verb. So se lever, for example, to get up, and so it's an ER ending verb. You just cut R, add an accent. Je me suis levé. Je me suis levé. So same way, the past participle can be both masculine, feminine. Tu t'es levé, both masculine, feminine. Il s'est levé, it's just masculine. Elle s'est levée, it's just feminine. Nous nous sommes levés, both masculine and feminine possible, plural, first person. Vous vous êtes levé, so same way, 4 different possible ways are there. So levé, the pronunciation will be the same. Levé, 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 levé. And so masculine singular, masculine plural, feminine singular, feminine plural. And ils se sont levés, masculine plural, elles se sont levées, feminine plural. Right? So that's it. So now we'll go for the exercises of lesson 2. Okay, here this is one simple exercise. The verbs are given in bracket in infinitive form. So you got to take the verbs and conjugate them in passé composé. This is one classical exercise. So we used to do this, right? Okay, since 6th standard. Okay, so it's classic. So mettez les verbes au passé composé. So nous montez en voiture. So the verb monter is given. So the first thing you got to check is actually if it's a part of Dr. Mrs. Vandertram's. The verb monter, you can see Dr. Mrs. Vandertram's, we do have the verb monter, which is to climb. Okay, to mount or to climb. And so if it's found in the list, what we do is actually you got to conjugate, you got to use the verb être as auxiliary. Right? So as auxiliary, and then the past participle and so on. So for nous, how do you conjugate the verb être? It's sommes. Nous sommes montés. Okay, now find the past participle, M-O-N-T-E accent. Okay, it's not over because the auxiliary that we used is être. So we'll be doing that agreement, the accord. Okay, so nous, it's plural. Okay, nous, it's plural. And they didn't mention anything if it's masculine or feminine. You can just write M-O-N-T-E accent S or M-O-N-T-E accent, one more E and then S. Okay, masculine plural or feminine plural, both can be used, both are correct. Okay, so the second one, ma mère. So the dash aller chez le dentiste. So the verb aller to be conjugated here. Okay, so the verb aller. First, you got to check if it belongs to the list of Dr. Mrs. Vandertram's. Yes, it is in the list of Dr. Mrs. Vandertram's. The verb aller. So the two verbs which are in Dr. Mrs. Vandertram's, which starts with A, are aller and arriver. Right. So aller. So now ma mère, it's the subject. You got to conjugate the verb être as auxiliary. Ma mère est, we'll be writing. Then the past participle of aller, A-L-L-E accent. So now the subject, you got to check the subject. So it is singular. If it's feminine, singular. Okay, it's feminine singular, third person feminine singular. So we'll be adding an E with the past participle. Oui. So the third one, the third sentence, le musicien Ravi Shankar. So le musicien Ravi Shankar, we take it for the third person masculine singular form, il. And the verb which is found in the bracket, it's naître. Naître. So the verb naître, which means to be born, to be born. And is it found in the list of Dr. Mrs. Van der Trams? Yes, it is. So the verb naître, the past participle of naître, it's ne, N-E accent, that's it. Okay, so on in India. So we'll be conjugating the verb être for the subject first. Okay, le musicien Ravi Shankar, third person masculine singular. So we use est. A, ne, N-E accent will be the past participle of the verb naître. Ne Anand. Okay, so the Ravi Shankar, the musician Ravi Shankar, was born in India. Right? So the last before one, le stagiaire. Okay, le stagiaire means the trainee. Okay, the one who has come for training, the trainee. Visiter les châteaux de la Loire. The verb visiter, it's given in the brackets. So is it a part of Dr. Mrs. Van der Trams? Okay, so we got one V in the list, and that's not visiter, that's venir. Okay, so this verb, it's not conjugated with être. So we'll be conjugating the verb avoir as auxiliary. So le stagiaire, it's third person masculine singular. So we conjugate the verb avoir, a. Okay, so a, just a. Visiter, er ending verb, you cut r, add an accent over the e. Okay, you got the past participle. Le stagiaire a visité les châteaux de la Loire. And the last sentence, la vendeuse. Partir tôt. Okay, partir, the verb is given. And partir, you can check in the list of Dr. Mrs. Van der Trams. Yes, the verb partir will be a part there. Okay, so that is like normally double P, I think. One is partir and one is passer. Okay. So the verb partir should be conjugated with être. La vendeuse, it's third person feminine singular. So est. Parti, P-A-R-T-I is the past participle. Then the subject, it's feminine, so we add an E. Okay, la vendeuse est partie tôt. So now we'll check the answers. Here are the answers. So nous sommes montés. So you can write any one. Okay, monter with E or without E. The second E, I mean. So ma mère est allée. Le musicien Ravi Shankar est né. Le stagiaire a visité. La vendeuse est partie. Okay, so careful. Just for the first sentence, you got an option. You can write monter, this one, or the other one. But som, it's mandatory. S-Y-M-M-E-S, it's mandatory. Careful. So now we'll move to the second exercise. The second exercise, they have conjugated the verbs in passé composé, but you got to change it to negation. Right? You got to change it to negation. Mettez les phrases à la forme négative. So, les feuilles ont commencé à tomber. Les enfants ont préparé leur cartable. J'ai acheté une forêt noire à la pâtisserie. Ils ont joué du piano. Il a fait des crêpes pour ce soir. So you can see all these verbs, all these sentences are conjugated using passé composé. So when you're changing the passé composé, the affirmative to negative, so the ne and pas will be placed and will be placed before and after the auxiliary. Okay, so not before and after the participe passé. Okay, it will be placed before. The ne will be placed before the auxiliary and pas will be placed after the auxiliary. So you got to find the auxiliary first. So the first sentence, les feuilles ont commencé à tomber. So the verb avoir is conjugated, ont. So before ont we use n apostrophe, and then after ont we use pas, pas. Les feuilles n'ont pas commencé à tomber. Les feuilles, which means the leaves. Okay, the leaves haven't started falling. The second one, les enfants ont préparé leur cartable. The children have prepared their school bags. Cartable, which means school bags. So the past participle is préparé. Auxiliary, it's actually the verb avoir. The same way for ont, we place n apostrophe before and pas after ont. Okay, les enfants n'ont pas préparé leur cartable. The students haven't prepared their school bags. So the third one, j'ai acheté une forêt noire à la pâtisserie. So I bought a black forest in the pastry. So j'ai acheté, so acheté is the past participle and the verb avoir is conjugated. Okay, so now we will be placing the ne and pas before and after ai. Okay, so before ai we'll be using n apostrophe, and after ai we'll be using pas, and so the j apostrophe turns to je because we place n there, which is not a vowel, it's a consonant, so we use je n'ai pas acheté, and win changes to the. Okay, so this sentence, it's one complicated one, so make sure you write it properly slowly. Right? Je n'ai pas acheté de forêt noire. Win changes to de forêt noire à la pâtisserie. So the last before one, ils ont joué du piano. So same way like the first two sentences, ONT is there. We'll be placing n apostrophe before ONT and pas after that. And jouer, du changes to de. Ils n'ont pas joué de piano. Okay, they did not play any piano. The last one, il a fait des crêpes pour ce soir. They have, he has done some pancakes for this evening. So the past participle is fait, and the verb auxiliary it's avoir. So we place n apostrophe before a and pas after a. So il n'a pas fait de crêpes pour ce soir. Okay, he did not do any pancakes for this evening. Okay, so des even changes to the. Okay, so for the last three sentences we'll be changing win, du and they to the. So now we'll see the answers here. So careful, the third sentence, careful, we got a lot of things to, small things to change. Les feuilles n'ont pas commencé à tomber. Les enfants n'ont pas préparé leur cartable. Je n'ai pas acheté de forêt noire à la pâtisserie. Ils n'ont pas joué de piano. Il n'a pas fait de crêpes pour ce soir. So now the third exercise. So third exercise, it's really simple. You got to just find if it's avoir or être. Okay, so maybe this should be the first exercise, but fine. You got to just find the auxiliary. Okay, so seeing the past participle, you got to find the auxiliary. So il dash rentré du voyage hier soir. So they dash returned from the travel, from the trip yesterday evening. So the verb rentrer, okay, you just got to check the Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's list. Okay, but in the exam you won't be having the list with you or in your pocket, so better you memorize the list. Okay, so rentrer, it's a part of Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp, so we use the verb être, and the verb être to be conjugated according to the subject. Ils sont, S-O-N-T for the first one. The second one, elle dash tomber dans le jardin sur le pavé glissant. Okay, so she fell down in the garden on the slippery tile. Okay, elle est tombée. So even the verb tomber will be in the list of Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's. So that's why we have used the accord, l'agreement. So you can see double E there, and even for rentrer you can see the S in the past participle. Even that's a small clue to find if it's être or avoir. So, elle est tombée dans le jardin sur le pavé glissant. So the third one, elle dash vu ce film plusieurs fois. So you can see there is a past participle vu after the dash. So without knowing what past participle it is, okay, so it's a bit difficult, but you can guess for this exercise. Okay, so it's actually the verb venir, which is the only verb in Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's. Okay, so it should be conjugated with être, and here vu it's actually the verb voir, V-O-I-R, and it's not in the Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's list, so we'll be conjugating with avoir. Elle a vu ce film plusieurs fois. Okay, she has seen this movie several times. So the D, last before one, nous dash né dans un petit village près de la mer. So nous, so the verb naître, it's conjugated. The past participle of naître is given there. You can find the verb naître in the Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's list. So we use the verb être. Nous sommes nés dans un petit village près de la mer. So the last sentence, vos parents et vous, it's still vous, dash passer une semaine à Paris. So as I told you, the verb passer can be used both ways, okay, with avoir or with être. So here, to spend time or to spend a week in Paris, okay, here we don't use it with être. When we use the verb passer for passing through somewhere, passing through a place, okay, so then we use it with être. So here we just use it with avoir. Vos parents et vous avez passé une semaine à Paris. Here we use it. So now we'll see the answers. Here, auxiliaire avoir ou être, mettez la forme convenable. Ils sont rentrés du voyage hier soir. Elle est tombée dans le jardin sur le pavé glissant. Elle a vu ce film plusieurs fois. Nous sommes nés dans un petit village près de la mer. Vos parents et vous avez passé une semaine à Paris. Okay, so we'll stop here. Okay, we'll continue the remaining exercises in the next session, in the next class. Okay, so please copy this in your notebook. Okay, so write neatly, clearly, so that you can understand. Oui, so merci beaucoup les gars. So ciao.